Welcome to the podcast Brain and You, Zainab.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And I know that you have a 15-year-old son. You have moved your career from being an IT lady to taking autism as a full-time occupation of yours. And you do help parents. I've gone through your Instagram profile. You have a lot of informative content to share, starting from when your child was 15 months old. Now he's 15 years old. So I think this podcast is going to be very, very special for the parents that are in Ayurved's network. So Ayurved normally works in the space of daily nutrition for brain. So our set of community of parents, most of them are parents to younger children. So I think you being ahead in the curve will help them hear from you. And we will try to ask questions that we get to hear from parents very often. And your perspective and take on them will definitely be useful and enlightening for those parents. So
Thank
before
you so
we
much for
start, Zainab, why don't you introduce yourself?
um thank you so much for having me. Of course, I'm Zainab Qadir. I have an Instagram page, Autism Simplified. I started this because I felt that my son, autism is a spectrum. Everybody knows that. One child with autism does not represent the whole autism spectrum, but still, there's like a niche that has been represented in the social media, it has been always either white or black. Is it too bad or is it too good? So somebody is like, how many times I've heard that Einstein had autism, or maybe some other big short names that you guys would know. Is like people love sharing that information to me, and but my son's autism does not sound or look or is like any of those people, and that's why I thought that the story of kids like Ahil, they deserve to be heard too, and that's exactly. And I often it's my own point of view. I try to bring out the best in it, and I think that's how your perspective to life should be, not only
Yeah.
autism. And there's always good and bad, but I try to highlight the good things, and I think that makes the journey easier for life and in the autism
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah. I agree. I
well.
agree. And I think your son's name is Ahil.
Yes.
Okay. So I think Ahil has become an Einstein in his own way, like you rightly said. He has discovered his own path and his own journey. And I was going through some of his videos before this call. So I think you've done an incredible job, Zainab.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that's one thing. I have three kids. I have two more kids, and a toddler actually who just turned two. But I feel that with the special needs kids, regardless of whether they are on the spectrum or they have some other special needs kids, a lot of responsibility comes on the parents. I mean, it is definitely a
Yeah,
difficult job,
yeah,
better and rewarding in so many ways as well. Just like the better jobs are paid more, but it is definitely a lot of. And then with the whole infrastructure, I think everybody, like a parent, whether moms bring different things to the table and fathers bring different things, but a lot of responsibility comes back on the parents. And because mothers are more primary caregivers, so
yeah,
it's like a lot of them. So I feel for them, and I know that. And I think it's
yeah,
not an easy job. I really don't think so. But I do think that this is a lot more rewarding than any other job that I've ever
yeah,
taken.
yeah. No, I'll agree. I mean, it is very tiring. So, we were making this documentary on autism called Beyond Labels. I'm not sure
Hmm.
if you got a chance, but maybe after the conversation, I'll send you the link. So I went around 4 cities in India. I stayed with those parents for a day. I wanted to become a part of their lives. So while we shoot the documentary, I wanted to see how they were, how their children were, and how does the family operate. It was very tiring indeed. Um, and you come back. I came back. It was just a 10-day trip, Zainab. I came back a changed person and more of a changed parent
Oh,
with a lot
wow.
of gratitude because there are a lot of things that we take for granted. And we, especially me as a parent, I get pissed very fast, maybe. But had so much to learn from those parents. There was so much of patience in the room. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
I know. I think patience is it helps in every scenario. I think,
Yeah,
but definitely
yeah.
it's It's the most I think the most heard now. Everybody has made a reel. It's on social media everywhere that how the caregiver or the parent or the mothers of special needs kids are like have the stress level of combat soldiers. I was like, but then it's just like the other day I was because I have a toddler and they're always on the go and the terrible twos and everything. And I was just talking to my husband and I was telling him that how with the toddler, you're always on fight and flight mode. Like you're always on the
Yeah.
go because you have to be present. You cannot be like, you go to a restaurant, you go out, you're at home, you have to be
Yeah.
consciously present. You can't take time off, right?
Absolutely vigilant. Yep. Yep.
Exactly. And unless the toddler is sleeping or something. And that remains the same for a lot of families with
Mm.
special needs, with autism
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout their lifetime. And
Yeah.
that makes it the whole journey a lot more
Very
difficult and a
true.
lot more challenging.
Very true. So while we are on this demanding journey that the parents go through, tell me one thing. So why do you think some autistic children struggle with emotional regulation? And what is that one strategy that can help parents with emotional regulation of their child?
Emotional regulation, it's a huge, see, when you come to the autism diagnosis, there's so many factors that are involved, right? And that's why when you see autism of different people, the autism represents differently, right? In different, and that's why this is so common. Oh, he doesn't look autistic. And then you would see people with such high functioning autism. I do want to say this, how the spectrum, I think right now everybody's so confused about even the levels of autism. Level 1 being the most high functioning level, level 2 being somewhat with support, level 3 being very severe. So that's very, I just want to tell you how these three levels are. If somebody tells you their child is autism level 3, it means that their life is very challenging. If it's level 1, that means they have some social deficits, some sensory issues. And now
Mhm.
the emotional regulation is a huge part, which would make the whole difference where on the spectrum you would fall on.
Okay.
Because I think as an individual, you first, that's where I've been giving toddler example a lot, but that's where the toddler behavior is, because they are not emotionally regulated, right? They don't, how do you say, they wear their emotions on the sleeves, right? Like there's like, whatever happened, oh my God, you took my spoon and now this is the end of the world. And the crying and the tantrum and the meltdown. Now, that is acceptable behavior for somewhat, not in a restaurant maybe, because everybody would be looking at you, even if it's a toddler. But imagine a 14-year-old, or maybe a 7-year-old, or maybe a 21-year-old going through the same emotions because they cannot regulate their own emotions. And a lot of things stems from sensory processing disorder here. In
Hmm.
that's why sensory processing disorder is a big, big symptom, is a big part and puzzle like piece of autism diagnosis. So,
Hmm.
I mean, there's so many things and that's why I feel that what has worked well, the most for kids to improve their emotional regulation is actually working on the sensory diet or their sensory processes dysfunction,
Okay.
depending on what
Understood.
side of like what sensory needs that your child
They
has. If
have.
you work
Yeah.
on that, their emotional regulation will actually improve.
Understood.
Mm.
So what do you think? What are some common mistakes that parents make when trying to build communication skills in their non-verbal child?
Often it's like when we talk about severity as well. We like I said, level 3. Now a level 3 child, a speech. So we let's go back to this. Autism is speech language disorder, right? So maybe a speech delay, then sensory processing disorder, maybe a difficulty with your sensory processing. And then these are two major, major parts, right? Major chunks. Anybody could tell, oh, this child is acting weird because he has sensory issues. Oh, this child does not speak. Oh, he might be on the spectrum. But then there is another repetitive behavior, which is stimming. Different kinds of stimmings, obviously. And then there's an executive function and theory of mind. Now, these two are often misunderstood. Like these two are things that you can tell by actually just looking at a picture or maybe looking at a video unless you spend time with that child. That's why clinical diagnosis by a professional is important, because the professional would be able to ask the right question, spend the right time, and assess them in the theory of mind and executive function to actually assess whether this child just have speech delay or just has sensory processing disorder, or this child is actually on the autism spectrum. Now, a
Okay.
nonverbal child might always be tagged as a severe autism, but
Hmm.
that might not be true in all cases, because speech is a big factor of our lives and everything, but it's not at all. So a nonverbal child might actually be very, very smart, and that's why how a lot of kids have written books and they
Yeah.
actually don't talk with the AAC devices and with so
Hmm.
many different. The communication is not only speech. Communication could be done, and non-verbal is just that that child is not being able to communicate with using words. But if you provide them with the right amount of communication, you will solve their emotional regulation issues, because these kids need help and need the
Yeah.
communication. If you
Yeah. I
bridge
agree
that
with that.
gap,
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah.
solve everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So once they get this, get a way to communicate, they are emotionally regulated in many scenarios. But
Yeah.
what have you come across any mistake that you see parents making often trying to build communication skills?
Um, I mean, we all, not a, I wouldn't say mistake, but I think that we all prefer that the kids use language to communicate. That is a
Mm,
preferred. So that's where everybody wants their kids to speak. And that's, I think, that's why I say, when you get an autism diagnosis, it's so new. Now there's so much information and so much awareness, which is what I'm not used to of, because when my son was diagnosed, that was like 13 years ago. We
yeah.
started seeing symptoms like 14 years ago, right? Around when he
Mm,
was 15 months old. So at
mm,
that time, there was no awareness. I personally did not know about autism. I did
mm,
not know what does that mean.
mm,
But with the a lot of awareness came a lot of miscommunication, so misinformation. So with
mhm,
a lot of awareness came a lot of misinformation, which is very overwhelming for parents. So they always think that um, there's one extreme and they don't want that, and there's another extreme and they don't want that, and they don't know, they are confused at which extreme, which level their child even belongs to, how the life is going to look like in 20 years. But that's how what they are thinking. They want the child to speak, they want to work on it. But I always say that the communication comes first and then the speech. So
mhm.
that's more
Yeah.
important for you to, for your child to be able to express how
Mm,
he's feeling, what he's going through, what does he want, and that could be done with any, and there are so many strategies given by the speech and language pathologist with the ABA therapist, and I really like those strategies. I think that really
mhm.
helps, with the PECs being one, the visuals being very helpful. But then it also depends on the on an individual whether their child is ready for all these strategies or not.
Yeah. You touched upon stimming earlier. So, can stimming be helpful? And when should parents intervene?
So I'm a very holistic person. I believe in doing everything for my child that could be helpful. And that actually means that when I say that spending time in nature helps you, or when you do better food helps you, and there's so many other things that could help your child, it can help all of us. We see the whole point when you get a child with autism, the whole, and you want to improve his life. That's what you want to do. You just want to work for your child to reach his potential, and that's what we are working on. Now, stimming is something that's very obvious. It's something very, very visible. So it's something that you're stuck on. But I really feel that this is one of the last thing that you should be addressing. Because
Hmm.
remember, the communication being the one, the sensory processing function being the second one, and the stimming being, and sometimes a lot of things that you're doing to help with these, stimming actually decreases a lot, because usually what they're doing is just stimulating their senses. And if you're able to provide that stimulation in the right way, they might actually not need to stim. And but if they do, there's nothing wrong to it. And especially if it's not causing any harm to anybody else. So I'm over this, like, oh my God, this child is very
Mm.
loud and I'm embarrassed. We should be way above all this and
Yeah,
never be anxious. I've seen anxious parents. I've seen parents, and your child picks up on your anxiety,
yeah.
and that is going to make things a lot more worse. If you are calmer, your child will be calmer. So what people are thinking, how people are looking at your child, you should not matter, especially in this journey.
Fair enough. I think as much as I've read, I've also read this that, whatever helps the child calm down or balance their emotions or reduce anxiety, let it be. Okay, tell me one thing. This is interesting. What's one powerful daily habit that parents can introduce to improve their child's sensory processing?
Spend times outdoor. Number one.
Okay.
Just we all always think
Yeah.
that I think nature is so understated, like
Mm,
undersold. It's the
mm,
best thing. It's
mm,
just connecting it to the stimming. So for example, I'll give you an example. You went to a restaurant for a very nice family dinner and your child is there and he's so loud and he's stimming, which is a vocal stimming. That's okay. There's another kind of stimmings as well, but let's take an example of a vocal stimming. He's so loud, everybody's looking at you, and your other kids are embarrassed, or what is happening and you're being anxious. What's the solution? When you have ordered the food, why don't you take your child for a walk, just like 5 minutes, and then come back once the food is back?
mm,
Now the whole process would I can tell you that your child would feel so much better, and everybody
mm,
else will enjoy the whole dinner a lot more better, because that walk, that movement, that sensory processing, like sensory diet, where I don't know what kind of weather. If it's too cold, you would be like, oh, it's too cold. No, it's not too cold. It's actually a lot more fun when it's cold. If it's too hot, it's still, the child is able to sweat. So it's like the whole outdoors brings so many
mm,
sensory
mm,
integration to your body, to your brain,
mm.
that in any weather, this is really good for your child.
Excellent. This is one really, really useful tip. And I think I 100% agree that nature is so underrated in this whole scheme of things and in these whole schemes of interventions that parents make. And I've read a lot of research, rather a lot of books around it, that how these children, rather anybody, you take anyone's example, but also these children, it just helps to calm down their sensory
Yeah.
needs. And running,
Yeah.
running in that open air when the air hits you, when it hits your face. Yeah. So
Yeah,
how
even the
can,
idea of
huh,
no,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Even the idea of these sensory rooms and everything, and I feel that, and this has been a part of my son's IEP, which is the individualized educational plan that was a part of his school system. That whenever he's frustrated, whenever he needs movement, he needs to go take a walk outside, and that has worked always wonder. It gives them a break. It gives them the sensory input that their body requires,
Mm,
and depending on the individual, you can change it to, they can go jumping on the trampoline outside, they
yeah.
can go on the swing, which would have added benefits. But regardless, going in the nature, and I feel that even if you're standing in the parking lot and there's a tree in the parking lot, if you have the capacity, if you have the perspective to appreciate nature, you will be able to enjoy it, and you will be able
Mm,
to take in whatever that nature has to offer to you by
yeah.
there. Like, you don't really have to go in the mountains and look at the lake and all that.
Yeah.
It's all over, it's around
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So while we are discussing these social surroundings, outdoor surroundings, so how can parents teach social skills to an autistic child without forcing them into uncomfortable situations?
Um, they don't have to when the child is younger. So that's a step. I think the social factor comes in very late. So you need to address the rest of the issues, make sure that your child is comfortable, he's in the best spot, and then you have to worry about how he should be acting in a social behavior, like in whole social setting. um I think, especially with the new diagnosis, this should not be, and that's what I do. I think as a parent, as an autism roadmap, you have to think that what is your priorities, what are you going to work on, and the things. But that does not mean that you stop taking them to the birthday parties they invited to. They're like, it means that you do expose them to different settings, you expose them to different environment, and you understand that if it's too loud for them and they don't like it. But exposing them, giving them an opportunity to experience it is also something that is very, very important. A lot of parents, they do that. Oh, I don't even go anywhere outside because my son runs away or my son doesn't like it being loud. I understand that, but then exposure uh,
Yeah,
helps with the
yeah,
adaptation, and
yeah,
it's really, really
yeah.
important.
I think I agree with it. So I think that tip is really useful that no matter what age, start giving them the exposure so that there will be a time. Initially, they might be a little reluctant, get anxious. One more thing I feel that I have read is that, prepare them for what they are going to witness. So once you prepare them and you give them that exposure, it might just be for 5 minutes. Maybe next time it's going to be longer. And gradually you start seeing probably more um, accepted social setting. They'll be less anxious. So yeah, I think I agree with
I
that.
think I do want to add this that I agree with this the schedules, the calendars, the social stories. This is the social stories. They are really, really they are very good, helpful tool. But I feel that all these, so for example, it did not work for us for the longest time, like literally till probably my son was 10 years old. And now they have been a game changer. He cannot live without one. Like me addressing what is happening rest of the week, me doing the schedule with him is like is the best time that he enjoys with me doing, right?
Mm.
But if I expect a 4-year-old to understand and sit with me and understand the social
Yeah,
stories and change his behavior and be prepared for
okay.
it or act better,
Yeah.
that's not going to help. So
Okay.
maybe some of them it does, but
No,
I feel that you
no.
should know all the tools and you should try, but don't have to the expectation should not be the
Yeah,
perfection is not the expectation,
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
if it helps, it's good. If it doesn't help, that's okay. You still try your best. Like
yeah.
I wanted to give an example. Like people often say, oh, I can't take him outside. I can control him on my own. It's okay. If you, I understand that we don't want to put them in any danger. But then if you think that you need two people to actually take him outside,
Mm,
then you have two people.
mm,
If you need three people, then you make time once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week to take him outside with three people. So you have to put in
yeah,
the support and the safety net, but yet you have to expose that child and individual to different settings because they are going to help him grow stronger, grow bigger, and become adaptable.
yeah. I like that statement. It's not about making it 100% perfect. It's about
Yeah,
just doing it repeatedly. And I think one very strong tip that you have given, which I had never thought about, was that there could be different ages when a particular tool may come in handy. So for your son,
exactly.
scheduling came in handy at 10 years of age, maybe
Yeah,
social stories too. So while there are so many tools, it is wise for the parent to just judge what tool at what age instead of just
exactly.
overwhelming yourself and then just getting probably irritated that nothing's working for you. So I think I like that. I think
I
this has
I think
been,
I think
yeah.
I think the most important thing is like if I can give you one piece of advice is to follow your child's lead. If your child is if you think communication is the thing that he's struggling the most and he really wants to communicate, you work on that. If you think the sensory processing disorder, the sensory integration is what where he need help the most, that should be your first goal to address. Not like, oh, my friend is doing this, his child is doing this, oh, this person on social media is doing this, I should be doing this. No, you have to follow your child's lead and
Yeah,
they will tell you what they require, what they
yeah,
need, and how you can actually help them in the right way.
yeah. I think you have given me some three very important tips. I'm gonna walk away with that and probably, and I'm sure that I'm sure it's gonna help a lot of parents when they listen to this because you may not realize it, but it has come with a lot of personal experience and conviction with which you're saying it. And these are
Yeah,
very
I
subtle
don't want.
tips, and I don't think any book has it, and it can only come from a parent. And that was the idea of connecting with an experienced parent like you. So, yeah, tell me.
I did a project with Autism Ontario previously. We did that was a mentorship project, and a lot of questions was. I have this on my Instagram as well. It's like a lot of people like, how do you react if somebody is rude to your child or something? This is like something I would have I it has been very difficult for me too. I have learned all on the job, right?
Mm,
So I know how to react better,
mm,
but always give your it's like always give yourself this I won't say benefit of doubt, but I always give yourself some grace, show yourself. That's how you have to be. You have to give people grace, and you have to give yourself grace, that it's okay to be human. If somebody
yeah,
has been rude to your child, you came up with a lot of anger and emotions, and that's okay. How
yeah,
you react to it is actually
in your
the
control.
important part, right? Like
Yeah,
that's where your learning and your wisdom comes into play. But
yeah,
how you feel, being like changing how you feel should not be something that you should
no,
be working on. That's okay. We
yeah,
are all
yeah,
humans, and especially with the newer diagnosis with the younger kids, emotions are all over the place. It's very hard. It's not the choice that it just happens to you. It's not like you chose this. And I heard somewhere they said that you have seen the decisions I've made, but you didn't know the choices I had. So it's like judging. I think that's one thing that I've learned, that as a parent, not as a mother, I would never, never judge another mom. That, oh, look, her child is 7 years old. He's not toilet trained. Look, he's not eating good food. Look, all this, knowing everything. And it's so confusing because I try to advocate for better nutrition, outdoor time, sensory play, and all these things. But I totally understand that every parent, regardless
yeah,
of the whatever they're doing their best. They're
yeah,
trying their best,
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
this comes naturally to us. This is
yeah,
not
yeah,
something that you have to
yeah,
learn.
yeah. I think these are the best parting words. And this has been really useful, Zainab. This has been very, very useful. And I'm sure parents would love watching this and learning from this. Those three, four tips that you gave. And plus, it just makes them walk away with having them realize that it's okay to be human and to feel what you're feeling. And then maybe gradually also learn how to control your reactions.
Yes, and definite and so there's two extreme. One who would leave everything and not go to the parties and not do anything at all, and just think that okay, the world has crumbled and now we have this autism and I don't know what to do. And the other ones are who are complete in denial, and they would like, oh, it's okay, this is useless. No point talking to him. No point taking. No point working with. And that also is not the way. We should definitely. I think these
Yeah,
kids have the potential, given the right tools, working with them, giving them everything that they require, they will improve, and they are one of the best people I know.
yeah,
Trust me.
yeah,
And this is
yeah.
not. I'm not talking about my child. I'm talking about all the individuals, all the kids with autism that I've seen. They have such pure hearts. They're such
True,
angels. They're such big blessings, and they bring a lot on the table. They have one of the most loveliest people that I've ever met. And I think
true,
that's something to be happy for. It's okay. It's not the journey that you thought it will be, but it could be more rewarding. It could be more fulfilling in so many ways as well.
true. Excellent, Zainab. Thank you so much for this today. And this is nighttime in India, so my day is gonna end very well listening to this. I'm a mother myself and have two boys next to me. So thank you for this. I think I will keep a lot that you have said in mind.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you. You're such an amazing person. It was so easy to chat with you.
Likewise.